in the fervor of talking about Dogra legacies and so on and so forth, we mustn't forget that it's a very, very inclusive tradition. As well as Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, all of them have contributed to the richness of the Jammu culture.
Jammu is so famous, it's world famous for its temples. I think there's so much more to Jammu, and I can't wait to tell you all about it. Some famous ambassadors of Jammu in our talks. A woman after my own heart, Jyotsna Singh JamVwal. Good morning, and I'm so excited today to have with me Jyotsna Singh JamVwal, a woman after my own heart. As you all know, I've written 2 books on saving Indian traditional craft, and Jyoti distinguishes herself by reviving a very special form of craft and art called the Basholi painting, a reputed school of miniature painting which hails from the 17th and 18th century from the district of Kathua of Jammu and Kashmir. Jyoti's also worked extensively on the museum in Jammu. Jyoti, can you tell us what the museum is called again?
It is called the Amar Mahal Museum and Library.
So you have created and you do a lot of events in this museum?
Yes, Nisha, I haven't actually created it. My father set it up. It used to be his mother's residence. It's a lovely sort of French style chateau kind of building. It's not really a palace as such.
I've actually been there, Jyoti.
Yes.
I have been there, and I think it's one of the most beautiful structures of Jammu, so evocative of the culture, but also is it reminiscent of some, European architecture as well?
Yes, it is. It's a combination. They've taken elements that are local in the, in the sort of sandstone carvings that are on the edges and so on. But the style itself is actually quite
I've been there often, and I find it so exciting that there is this museum in Jammu where you get to see some of the historic works of Jammu art and craft. And I've also enjoyed the fact that you have a beautiful hillside view of Jammu. You literally see the whole panorama of Jammu when you're having a cup of tea at the museum. Adjacent to the museum is the Palace Hotel, where I think that's a hot spot for all of us traveling into Jammu, wanting that piece of luxury in Jammu, because Jammu can become chaotic in its kaleidoscopic, culture of the markets, of the temples, and you want your piece of luxury there, and that's the go-to place for me, the Palace Hotel. But Jyoti, you have dedicated your life to reviving the arts and crafts of Jammu. Like I said, you're a person after my own heart. I've spent my entire life working with Bastar artists, with Kantha artists, with Mithila artists like Satnarayan Lalkaran. And these people are, not gravitating to the ancient forms of craft because they're not very paid. How have you managed to create this school? Can you tell us a little bit about this unique journey that you've set about on?
Thank you, Nisha. I will. First of all, let me very honestly tell you that I have not dedicated my life to the revival of craft or any such noble thing. I love art myself. I'm an academic from Delhi University and have taught there, but I came back to art myself through pottery and then through enameling. So I'm an enamelist. I do what is called meenakari, but on a very large scale, enameling on copper and steel. So that's my personal work that I now do. And as an artist, I know that I do not have a tradition of art in my blood, so to speak, but I am deeply interested in in the aesthetic of of working also with my own hands, and not actually having things done by people and then sort of putting up exhibitions. I've not really done that so much. But what I have seen here, when we started to revive the museum, which was had been set up by my father in the 60s, which used to be his mother's residence, and then he put his collection, a most unique collection of Kangra miniature paintings, a kind of narrative of Nal and Damayanti paintings, 47 paintings telling the story of Nal and Damayanti. It is at the heart of our collection at the museum. The museum is a very unique place in the sense that we don't have an armory, we don't have anything which has valuable jewels or anything else. So at the heart of the museum is this collection of paintings. There is also the personal collection of my father of contemporary art. So you have G.R. Santosh's painting, you have Hussain, you have Swaminathan, all the great modern painters, which my father started collecting, when he first came to Delhi, I think in the late 60s. So
for
that's
the
a wonderful...
sorry to interrupt. For the uninitiated watching this show, Jyoti is the daughter. She talks about her father often here. He's Dr. Karan Singh, who we all know, is one of the most illustrious figures from Jammu, and also serendipitously my husband's uncle. So when Jyoti talks about Dr. Karan Singh, Jyoti, I've also interviewed Dr. Karan Singh for my column with Midday and with the Asian Age. So I've had that interesting, so what your father's done is, of course, very, very interesting. But you've taken that legacy forward. You're the only, the only sibling, the only child who has actually taken this legacy of art and craft and done something so magnificent with it. I want to know how you gravitated to this particular form.
Yes. So Nisha, I just wanted to tell you that when we started to reimagine the museum as an interactive space, because a museum is nothing if it isn't a place where people want to come and see and ask questions and get involved. So when we started doing that, we started doing a few festivals here, which were theatre as well as painting and so on and so forth. When I tried to get things for the museum shop, which is always a lovely thing. I mean, I'm sure you visited so many museum shops all over the world, and almost, sometimes you don't want to see the museum, you just want to go to the shop because it's a beautiful thing, right?
It's the
when
Met,
I was trying to,
that's the most exciting part of a museum.
Yeah.
You get to take a part of the museum back home with you, a memory.
Exactly. So
and also a cup of coffee in the museum.
When we started looking for things to put in the museum shop, we found that not much was being made indigenously in Jammu. You could get things from Kashmir, as always. You could get things from Punjab, but there was not much being done in Jammu itself. And so we thought of 2 or 3 things. First of all, we thought of a project where we would take elements from the collection in the museum and make very inexpensive souvenirs so that people could take a bit back, like, fridge magnets and little clocks and, jewelry and so on. And we did that with a wonderful company called Frog Mag, who took elements and created this for us. They work with other museums as well. But then I thought, what is it that the museum can particularly do as an outreach program to encourage art, which seemed to have disappeared from the region? So you have the Kangra Shaili, which is quite active in Kangra and so on. But the Basoli painting, which is actually a very, very beautiful, colorful, vibrant, and a little more folk-oriented imagery, of miniature art. And we thought, look, how do we do this? So there's a wonderful artist called Sohan Biloria, who has been coming here. We've had his individual show, and we thought, let's try and get him to do workshops in Jammu and see how people gravitate or what they think of this. We found that the students of the Fine Arts College or anyone else showed zero interest in this traditional art form, because everybody's just caught up with doing new things. It takes years of dedication to learn this. So we were at a loss, and then suddenly we came up with the idea that he has his wonderful atelier and studio in Basoli itself. Why don't we just encourage him by a monthly payment to him and to any students that he can find who he can teach. And that's how this whole idea started of a Guru Shishya Parampara, where he will teach 2 students every 2 years and get 2 new students every year, so that they for 2 years work with him intensively, immersively, right from the very beginning, from line drawings to figures to flora and fauna, and then finally to the entire colored painting. And so that's how it started. And we now have an exhibition on here of the first batch of students who worked for about 16 months and have done really well, because they work 8 hours a day. It's not an easy thing. And so Sohanji, I'm really grateful to him that he's managed to do this. And we're supporting the students as well, so that they don't have to earn a living while they are learning.
That's absolutely so exciting. I was looking at the repertoire of Basholi paintings. It's indeed very unique, very intricate, very colorful, so typical of the Kathua district of Jammu. So are you saying that if one goes to the museum, Jyoti, one would be able to get a piece of this magnificent form of indigenous craft from Jammu?
Nisha, I just want to say that it is actually art. It's high art, in fact. It's not craft. In fact, all these years, what has been happening is that traditional arts have been kept in the realm of craft. So you have the paper mache painter, you have potter, all lumped together with this person who is spending months making one painting and learning not only what is appropriate at the background for the painting, but how the features are to be made in a particular shell. You know, in the camera, miniatures have a different style.
And in fact, Jyoti, just to share with you, I have revived a lot of these forms of paramparik, what you call Guru Shishya, the paramparik form of craft. I worked with one of the pioneers who was a protege of Kamla Devi Chattopadhyay, Roshan Kalapesi. I worked with her, and together we did an auction at Taj.
I see.
Where we sold each and every work by mounting it like a museum piece and selling it only as art. When I use the craft, I mean it as the highest compliment. So yes, definitely the art form which you've revived. The genesis was through the museum shop, which you wanted to be on similar lines of the Met or the Guggenheim or the Louvre. So would a person like me who's coming there, how would I get a work? How would I be, have access to such a brilliant form of art from Jammu?
So what we're planning, Nisha, is that by the end of the year, we should have small format paintings from the students as well as the master. And the prices will differ, obviously, because of the level of skill,
intricacy,
but affordable paintings, because the kind of people who come through the museum are generally people who are going on pilgrimage or who have come as casual tourists. They have not bargained for thousands of rupees to spend a lot of money on anything they pick up. But we will have affordable pieces, and then anyone who wishes to buy more expensive paintings, we will have a portfolio of paintings in the office, so that if somebody wants to see them, they're welcome to come and see these and acquire them.
So Jyoti, I find that Kerala, Rajasthan, Goa are the ambassadors of India, and people gravitate to these states and these fabulous meccas of tourism. How does somebody like you, who's such a feisty, beautiful proponent of the crafts, I find that music, food, art are actually things that create a place for a particular state or a city. How do you plan to make the Basholi form of art? How do you plan to make it into one of the showstoppers of Jammu and take it to the rest of the world and create that interest about a state which is so unique, so colorful, and stands apart from other states in its absolute, in its difference, in the fact that it's not similar, it's dissimilar in its form of, poshak, in its form of cuisine, in its dogra, very mellifluous music. How
Yes.
do you plan to take this or any, cultural form? Would you want to bring it to the rest of the country too? Because I find there's absolute ignorance about the state of Jammu and Kashmir, its sibling, hyphenated, better known sibling.
Nisha, you've planted 100 seeds by what you've said already, and that's I think your expertise. You're really good at getting an idea going. I've what I have done in the past. I've lived for many years in Kashmir, in the valley, and I have run something called the Dara Shikoh Center there, because I just fell in love with the idea of this wonderful prince who was the brother of Aurangzeb, as you all probably know, who was a great rasik of the arts. He was a patron of the arts, but he was also a practitioner of mystic, practices, and he was a wonderful person who brought together Hinduism and Islam. It was incredible what he was able to do. So to me, he was a great inspiration. We started a center there, and we would every year have a program, a festival, where we invited somebody from outside, either in environment, education, sacred music, arts, to come and speak to young people there. So we had colleges and schools that would come and spread themselves out, and then we'd have workshops, we'd have a seminar, and we'd have performances. I love that concept because there's something for everybody. The performances are for anybody who wants to come, and the food thrown in would be wonderful. The seminar is something that's really interesting to intellectuals and people who are interested in particular aspects of that region. And the workshops are great for people who want to know a little bit more and get into the depths of, of what we can do from this region. So this concept of a holistic kind of festival, which involves the locals. So I would really love to do something in Jammu itself and invite people from outside to come in. It's one thing to take it out, which I think is also important, to give a taste of what is possible, and maybe that's the first step. And then you have a second one, which I would love to involve you in, where we bring people into Jammu actually, and we give them a kind of, there are such beautiful places here that people haven't even seen. There are these, Ambaran mein, there's a wonderful Buddhist site, and then you can go a little bit outside of Jammu and you'll find these beautiful lakes and temples and places which are really not well known at all. And as you say, the lesser known sibling. So instead of being in the victim mode, which I find a lot of people here saying, "Asai te kishni dikhya ji, asai te sara kishni miliya." I mean, instead of that, you really want people to be able to sit up and say, "Look, this is the richness of our own culture." And I think it's happening in the music, as you said, is so rich, so wonderful. And there's kind of new music coming out of here. And we should just, sort of involve the youth, I feel, and old people too, and everybody really. So I think the thing to do is to take it out once and then to invite people in back and make Amar Mahal the sort of center of this activity, because there are lovely grounds around and, as you said, beautiful views of the place. And so we could do a really lovely annual event here.
And what actually took Jaipur into the global map was Jaipur Literary Festival, started with a very, very dear friend of mine. What is the Jammu? Is there an indigenous Jammu literature?
Oh yes, very much so. I mean, my wonderful, wonderful friend Padma Sachdevji, who passed away quite recently. She was an older lady, but she had and she spoke perfect Kashmiri as well, by the way. So she was like a kind of rich storehouse because when you write about a place, you are really immersed in that culture and what it was like. Jammu, what Jammu was like, in the old days with all the little bits of cultural history attached to it. And I think that's what we need to see, because there's this very homogeneous Punjabi culture, which is wonderful and vibrant, but it's kind of got inroads into everything. There are languages in pockets of the Jammu region. For instance, Pogal Paristan is a little region. It has its own language. Nobody has heard of it, And as you go, because there are little valleys among these hills, which have their own culture, and we can still access the food, the wedding rituals. There was a song from birth to death. I mean, all the way through life, marriage and, the birth of a child and everything. There are songs for everything in this place. And a lot of beautiful songs of birha, where the woman is singing for her husband who has become a soldier in the army of the Raja or something and has gone away. So there's a very rich culture of music, of art, of Basoli art, and of course the nearby Kangra art. The food, which again is lesser known but absolutely delicious. I had kalaris yesterday, which was really amazing. So we could bring together something really rich and wonderful.
Jyoti, I wanted a little insight, my personal curiosity about your growing up years in Jammu. What are the special memories? Because so far I've chatted with artists and with singers who've come from the smaller towns of Jammu, in and around. And it would be interesting to hear from you about a charmed life that you lived in growing up in Jammu with a very illustrious father who distinguishes himself in literary arts, in creating a place for Jammu in the world of literature and art.
Nisha, I had a very, how would I say, it was a very magical childhood in some ways, but it was very isolated. So I have lovely pictures of myself dressed up in a little sari by my mother, who was a wonderful lady, a very beautiful woman and very well dressed. And she herself had been trained by her father-in-law, who she had loved like a father.
And interestingly, for those who are not aware, Jyoti's mother was from Nepal.
That's right.
Very interesting mix as well.
Yes. So it's given me the sense of being, a kind of mixture always, and it's very, very rich because I love Nepal as well. It's part of my, it's half of my, whatever I've inherited. But to me, what was very interesting when I was growing up here, because we grew up between Kashmir and Jammu. There used to be the Darbar move. For anyone who knows Jammu and Kashmir, I think they've just probably stopped it this year. But the entire administration would move in the summer to Kashmir, and the entire administration would move back to Jammu in the winter. And so I went to the presentation convents, both in Kashmir and in Jammu. And so I made very few friends, but the highlight was apparently my birthday, where little kids would be invited, and I have pictures of that. And there was a wonderful man in Jammu called Master Chela Ramji, who taught me, who was my personal tutor. And he taught me from art to math to English he was just one of those great teachers. And I was so lucky to have come across him. He was an imposing figure with white hair, and I really want to remember him. There was another lady called Mrs. Khurana who used to teach me in Kashmir. She taught me English. And it was really a charmed childhood in that sense. But very soon, by the age of about 9 or 10, my mother began to see that I was completely cut off from reality in some ways. And she sent me from the palace to Sanawar, Lawrence School Sanawar. At the age of 10 I went, which was a boot camp, by the way. I loved it because I was there for 6 years. We'd come back every year for holidays to Kashmir and Jammu. But it was like suddenly being thrown into a pack of wolves. And I didn't even know how to properly feed myself or whatever. But I bless her soul, because it's made me quite down to earth. It's made me appreciate how wonderful it is to have, this legacy. And I think I was very grateful that my father involved me in the museum, because having had an exposure to things outside, one wasn't just stuck to the idea that it should only be a certain kind of thing. It has to be an open space where people can come and go and enjoy real culture, and of course see the exhibits, which are wonderful, but also for locals to have a sense that, the museum belongs to them and they belong to the museum, sort of thing. So you get a lot of, interactive work. And we are looking for a cultural, what would you say, like a curator. So if you know anyone or any young people who are interested to help us, make programs for the museum or to curate things, we would be very happy to interact with them. Get to know.
That would definitely create a showcase, especially for tourists, with Jammu opening up, with the new wave of Jammu being included in the rest of India. I think that would create a sort of mecca for people to come and understand Jammu culture, apart from the plethora of temples and the marketplaces which are so vibrant. I think the museum, and especially the museum shop, would be a great place for people to take a piece of Jammu back with them.
That's
Isn't
right.
it?
Yes, Nisha. And I really would like to be able to. We have done in the past festivals in Ladakh, in collaboration, for instance, with a place called LAMO, Ladakh Arts and Media Organization, and we have done workshops and seminars and so on in Jammu also, with the Institute of Fine Arts, which is now part of the university. But we like the idea of collaborations, because I think everybody has different strengths, and I think that would be a good way to go. Working with different cultural organizations, with different even women's organizations. My sister-in-law Ritu is in charge of Flow in Jammu, and she's doing a stellar job. Flow is the FICCI ladies organization, so she's organizing a lot of different things. So there is things happening here, I think, and we could really work together to create an atmosphere which brings people in, as you said, not just for the temples or for the just as a kind of pit stop to go somewhere else, but make it a kind of destination in itself.
Jyoti, what are your special memories of, what is your favorite Jammu cuisine? What is your favorite folk song from Jammu? Raghunath Temple is of course known all over the world, but what are the other special temples which people don't know about? For instance, Uttar Behani is a very...
Exactly. Yes, I was going to mention...
It's a little known temple, but it's so special because of its entire, geographical location and the way the river flows. What are I want you to give me a little insight for those who've never been to Jammu as to what would they see in Jammu which, would be unusual, and what are your special memories of your special, cuisine or a special outfit or a special painting which holds, takes you back into the capsule of time?
That's a lovely question, Nisha. I mean, I think I know why you're so successful in what you do, because this really is very evocative. Because I remember my grandmother living in what is now the museum. I remember the chehel pehel of the place. She was from Kangra, by the way, and she was a commoner, and she was brought in as a Maharani, and she brought with her entire family from Kangra, and an entourage of women and children. And so when we used to come and visit from the house down the way, which is now the hotel, which is where we lived. We used to come here once a day, and it was such a vibrant place. And I've mentioned in the museum catalogue that she brought the village into the palace. So my earliest memories is of dholkis, women singing, children running around, achar de martaban bar, getting the heat of the sun on the veranda, an occasional monkey trying to get in, and being shooed off. We sitting quite sort of reverentially in front of my grandmother, who was a formidable lady, and playing with the maids' kids. So it was a very vibrant, living, wonderful atmosphere, making little pool malas for the deities that she had in her place. Pujas were celebrated, havans were done. She used to feed a cow every day with these little atta ka, things. So it was a very living thing. It wasn't like a formal atmosphere of a palace as you would imagine, So I loved just that whole vibrancy of the place. The food I came to appreciate later, because my mother was a very strict lady. She would give us only, very bland food. We would, of course, revolt and get the achars out from the back door, at my grandmother's place. But I love Dogri food. The ambal, the khatta kaddu, the oria, which is fermented, I think it's curd with mustard seed, which is put out in the sun, so it gets that really strong tang. And then you have the khatta meat, of course, which is made with anardana, and the wonderful kaladis, which is a cheese that is made to last long by the Gujars, So, I mean, I'm getting mere muh mein pani aa raha hai just talking about all this. It's absolutely the most wonderful cuisine. It is sour. It is full of quite not a lot of masalas, but cooked in a way over a slow fire, and it has certain basic things like methi is used a lot, and anardana is used a lot, and it's it's kind of, it's not very complicated, but it's very rich. And then you have different kinds of rotis. You have thothru, which is an atta ka roti which has been fermented and fried, and fenis, which are eaten with milk and sugar in the morning. The mithais. I mean, Jammu is famous for mithais. The most wonderful patisas, and there are specialized places in the city where you can get special mithais and so on. So it's a wonderful cuisine, and I think people have written on Kangra cuisine, but I'm not sure there's a really good book on Jammu cuisine as such. But yes, a food festival would be a fantastic addition to anything that one does.
So here we are. We've got so many new ideas from this little conversation, and being a great fan and follower and lover of Jammu, and a great lover of a Jammu man who I've had the privilege of enjoying more than half my life with, I have to say that today's conversation has been unique, Jyoti, but most of all to meet someone who is so imbued with memories and with the desire to revive so many lovely things which are at risk of becoming extinct. Not only the cuisine, but the literature, the music. And you're actually, a person of action, because I think what you're doing with the Basholi form of art. I have also a little vignette about Jyoti here. She's also got this beautiful cottage she runs in Kashmir called the Almond Villa. Am I right?
Not anymore.
That's a pity, because I was encouraged to go and visit that place. So you've just done so many interesting things, and I hope you're going to work with us to put Jammu on the map with greater fervor.
I'd love to, Nisha. I just want to stress on one particular thing, and that is that we, in the fervor of talking about Dogra legacies and so on and so forth, we mustn't forget that it's a very, very inclusive tradition. So you have all kinds of, it's not homogeneous. There are many different layers to it, and it includes all sort of levels of people, folk, tribes, of which are up in the hills, as well as Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs. All of them have contributed to the richness of the Jammu culture. So I remember sitting in Residency Road one day, and suddenly in a cafe, and I looked out, and to my enormous surprise, I saw Jesus Christ walking down the road, carrying a cross with a whole lot of people behind him. I said, what's happening here? It was Easter. It was Easter, and they were trying to show the Passion of Christ, and it was so wonderful to me to be able to see that in Jammu.
Absolutely.
So, there's so much happening here.
And just shows what a tolerant country, what a tolerant state, what a tolerant people we are.
Yes.
That we allow for so many different cultures and so many different religions to come and thrive in India.
Yes.
It just shows what a lovely set of people the original Indian is.
I don't know whether you can say original. We are all a hybrid. I've got a bit of Nepal in me. Somebody else has got something. So we are all a mixture, and I think we should celebrate that.
Absolutely.
Diversity.
Absolutely. What a wonderful note to conclude on. I can't wait to meet you personally, Jyoti. But you have excited the thousands of people watching us today to come and experience this very vibrant, kaleidoscopic state. And I for one, who've been going there off and on for very short periods of time, have a whole new set of things to explore next time. And are you situated in Jammu at all times?
No, no. I live in Delhi most of the time, and I have a little place up in Himachal near Palampur where there's a little tea garden, and I visit Jammu quite often. I mean, because of COVID, one hasn't, but yes, otherwise I come here quite often.
Okay, so I wish you great luck with the activities at the museum. I'm always there to create some buzz around Jammu. That's what I do best.
And yes, Nisha, I shall call upon you for this wonderful.
And I can't wait to meet you. I can't wait to do very exciting things with you. Thank you for being with us, even though you have to catch a flight in a short while from now. More soon from you, more interesting conversations with us right here at the Kunwar Viyogi Memorial Trust Festival. Lovely speaking to you, and I can't wait to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nisha, and the and the trust. And I'd love to talk with you and meet with you personally.
Please, I would love that myself. Take care. Thank you.